We have merchandise for sale. Go to our website, moviesthatmatterpodcast.com, click on the link to our store, and you can see the amazing t-shirts, stickers, and posters we have for sale. Our excellent friend Amy Patnovic made the design, and we coded all of our social issues from our past episodes with all of the movies we've discussed. But there's a secret to the design. Each image represents a movie, and you have to guess which one it is. We think it's going to be a really fun puzzle design for you to solve, and we hope you'll order lots of t-shirts and share it with your friends. Welcome to Movies That Matter, the podcast about recent films going above and beyond the call of box office returns to boldly explore a social issue affecting people's lives. I'm Nicole Finari.
And I'm Stacy Moore.
And with us today is...
Christopher Robinson.
Sarí Houston.
Welcome back, Sarí, and welcome, Christopher. All right, Christopher, what movie are we going to overanalyze this week?
We're going to overanalyze Black Panther.
Starring a predominantly black cast and set in the Afro-futurist nation of Wakanda, Black Panther follows newly crowned Wakandan king T'Challa as he struggles with the unique challenge of being both a good man and a good king.
All right, guys. What did you think of this movie? Lots of hype. Did it live up to it?
Yes. I enjoyed it a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm not a big comic book fan, so I had no element of the background, but for sure, I totally geeked out on it.
Cool.
Yeah,
That's why Christopher's here.
I am a big comic book fan, and I was really happy with what they did and how they approached the subject matter. And as I grew up mostly DC Comics, but Marvel's been hitting it out the park for a while. The cinematic universe is awesome.
Okay. So there's so many things to get into here, but I feel like I would be remiss if I didn't kick this off with an apology. So on behalf of Stacy and I'm really sorry that we got Gal Gadot and you got Chadwick Boseman. Like, that sucks for you. I apologize.
What's wrong with Chadwick Boseman?
Oh, gosh. He was a total
on.
non-entity.
What?
Seriously, I literally could not look at him. Could you look at him?
Well, there were so many other good things to
yes,
look at.
That's a problem.
So I actually feel bad for Chadwick because there were so many other elements.
Oh my goodness.
If Daniel Kaluuya or Michael B. Jordan was on screen, even if they were just standing there listening, I had to remind myself to look at Chadwick Boseman.
There was, yeah.
And, like, his closing scene was totally uninspiring. Like, I just didn't think he had it to carry this movie.
Oh, I disagree. I've been a fan of him since 42. I think he did a good job. I think he did when he first introduced himself in Civil War, I thought he had a little bit more charismatic in Civil War, yes. But I think he did a pretty good job in this one.
I think really the one thing I would say is that when you have a stellar cast, it's just going to be harder. And I think that was the element, is that there was just so many gems and so many stars on it that Chadwick, I personally felt, just was outshined fully.
He was outshined. Like, literally every time he fought somebody, I wanted the other person to win.
Okay, that's just wrong.
Well, I certainly was sad when, you know what I mean,
right.
He was thrown over. Yes, I was like,
Spoiler.
Yeah, I mean,
this is all spoilers. Everybody knows. Watch
you know what I mean?
first.
Yeah, I mean, it was totally like, I felt that. I think also, though, his character in and of itself was written in a way that there was an element of, and that's one of the things I liked certainly about Ryan, you know what I mean, was the way in which he wrote.
Let's just tick some boxes and what we thought of it as a movie. You are going to die of surprise. Okay. I got bored.
Yeah.
That first act with Claw went on too long by the time they introduced the real...
everything, though.
Yeah, I do.
Which one was this? What scene?
So, I'm just saying, the whole Claw thing went on too long that by the time they introduced the real villain of Killmonger, I was like, we've already had a couple large set pieces with action sequences. Like, I'm tired.
You don't like action sequences?
No, these were not well filmed. Would you say that they were well filmed?
I will say that the first one was really, really dark. The one in Nigeria was really, really dark. And one of the things I liked about that wasn't...
What do you mean dark?
It
like
was
poorly lit?
poorly lit.
Yeah, okay.
Poorly
dark
lit.
Or like very grave?
Sorry, it was poorly lit. But I did like that they did the whole tie back to the whole Bring Back Our Girls campaign by doing the rescue in Nigeria.
Good job, you.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you think of the action sequences?
I think, action scenes, I think what I loved the most, I think there were some elements that I was kind of like, seemed very, on some level, a little too stagey, like in 1, 2, 3 a bit. But I also love the element of just being badass women who are, being able to do stuff. I liked I liked the element of comic relief. So like the,
that Jabari King's line about, just kidding, we're vegetarians. I was like, it's perfectly placed. He delivered the line.
Yes. Austin Duke did a great job.
Well, even the one where it was like, I'm going to go with you. No, I can handle it. It was like, don't freeze. I mean, like, just those pieces I certainly enjoyed. So it's the element is interesting. I liked the, fusion of like the technology piece and all of that kind of seemed to be really interesting. But I think there was some where I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, it was like, oh, we have guns and now we're just like, hit people up with spears. Yeah. I mean, so there's that. And I'm not
guns
vibranium.
So
I don't know if,
unelegant.
you know what I mean? Like, I'm looking for shields. I mean, how are we doing all of that? But you know what I mean? I get it. It's a movie. We're going to work with it type of thing. Yeah.
We do everything.
I know. And then I'm just kind of like, then I got
magic.
Yeah, it is. Because then it was like the diamonds.
Yes, that's magic.
Yeah. And then it was like, well, you couldn't get in with guns, but then, you know what I mean? The CIA operative had one. It was just like elements of.
Oh, because he's CIA, so he just got him in earlier.
Yeah. Okay. I got you.
The vibranium does not set off metal detectors.
Got you. Thank you.
They mentioned that later in the movie.
Got you. Okay. Because I was just like, how is all of this working? But yeah, there was all of that. But I loved how we went from like different country to different, you know what I mean? So I liked that aspect of it as well. So
yeah. So for me, Christopher just sent me this article, great article, interview with Rita Moreno, where she's like, how to not film a dance sequence. Mm-hmm. And she's like, don't cut away to things. Like, just keep the camera on the freaking dancers and let them dance. So like, especially in that scene in the club, where they're first taking on Claw and Clawsman, there are moments where there's a close-up of Chadwick Boseman's face and like his arms are moving. So I know he's fighting somebody and I'm like, just pull back. You have a well-choreographed action scene. Just let it play out. Like, camera tricks are really not necessary to me.
See, I disagree with... I thought the filming of at the Korean bar was actually one of the better fight scenes. Because, like they did do some pullbacks on it, and they did zoom in. So I thought it was a little bit more interesting than, like, the fight in Nigeria. Like, it was better lit. And you were able to show Ayoyo do her moves a little bit better, which I mean,
there were parts that were good, but there were parts where I'm like, why am I looking at somebody's elbow right now?
Or there's so much fast movement sometimes that I found myself slightly like, so what am I watching? Versus when the warrior, you know what I mean, was like, flying down with her spear to go.
Yeah, I love how the camera followed her down.
Yes,
that was great.
Yes.
The stuff where you caught movement was much more appealing than it was like, you know what I mean? Like, I felt almost like my head jerking a lot.
When the camera followed, I think that was a little bit better. I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
Right. Ultimately, my point is that, less is just kind of more with this stuff. And I think directors get into like, oh, I'm going to do this cool shot. I'm going to do this cool shot. And you're like, no, don't do any of that. Just kind of be very basic and like let the fight scene play out so I can see all of the choreography that you've put together.
Well, I mean, I think...
I blame Jason Bourne.
No, I don't. It wasn't. No, it was not shaky. It was not shaky cam.
Which is just too much.
It was not shaky cam, or it was the people with the best fight choreography would probably be the Russell brothers, and they did Civil War and Winter Soldier, and they had that down pat. And I like their.
This was Coogler's first action movie. So
I mean, he's done fight choreography for Creed. So
that's really
Yeah, and you can see some of the you saw some of the moving
yes,
styles.
but no, like that's a very different style.
And what
I agree, but he tried to do some of the Creed choreography because you saw when they did Chadwick Boseman's fighting, it was doing more boxing style, which was different from how he fought in Civil War.
Okay.
Which is like, that was more, I noticed that interesting because that's probably what he was closest and more comfortable with.
So, at least, because I didn't realize I was going to be a part of this beforehand, so I did see some of the stuff as far as explanation. What he was trying to do was capture the different levels. So, like, there's fighting going on up here at the top level. There's fighting going on at the bottom. And so, kind of talking about, like, I'm capturing what's going on and what's going on below.
Right. And I thought he did a good job with that. But
yeah.
I can see you guys have
and so it was just all of that. And then wanting to also, which all of the movement was really fast, but then the different personalities. So Nakia being someone who's not going to touch a weapon, right? So she's going to use a shoe. She's going to actually try to disarm you and not touch anything.
Well, she does shoot people. She takes the gun, uses her shoe to shoot, takes them out, takes the gun and starts supporting the general who's up on the first floor.
And so he's trying to break down kind of like how he's trying to show the different styles.
And I agree with that.
And so I was like, oh, okay. But I also felt like all of the movement kind of, I was like, oh, I was supposed to get all of that in all that short amount of time, which I thought was really interesting. Yeah. And he slowed it he slowed it down. I'm like, see, if you slowed it down, we could have probably captured some of that. Yeah. It was all so fast, also whatever, that it you know what I mean, kind of lost me a bit. I
don't want to overstate, like, this was terrible. Like, that is not at all what I'm saying. I'm just saying, like, it could have been a little bit better here and there. First time director of this kind of thing, fair enough. I think for me, the score was the biggest letdown.
Oh, really? I know you don't like it when they are it was very there. And I know that you don't like it when the sound takes such a strong role in the film.
I actually would... I'm so frustrated. I think they really missed an amazing opportunity. So they had some blend of African sound, which of course was the only thing anybody recognized as from The Lion King. So that just felt really Disney self-referential. And I was like, oh, the one African sound is going to make us all think right now of The Lion King, right? You have great musical traditions throughout the continent of Africa, especially African drumming. And I was like, really? You didn't use any African drumming in any of the scores of all those fight scenes.
You didn't hear any of the African... Oh, sorry, in the fight scenes you were saying.
Yeah, and like really build the tension with some intense drumming. Like, I just felt like I thought the costume design, I thought the art direction really made good use of a lot of different African traditions. I felt like the score...
You thought missed? I don't know. I like the pop, pop. Like, I don't know. Like, that to me was hot. I thought it was hot.
I agreed with her. Okay. They did use a lot of the African drumming. They usually did it more for ceremonial.
The traditional.
And the traditional aspects.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to see, like, that same modern blend, though. Like, can we put a modern spin on this to make this a cool movie score? And I just am like, I feel like there was an opportunity that they missed.
So you were looking for kind of more of a traditional with the element of kind of the fight scenes.
Yeah, right. I just thought that was a good opportunity.
I identified that kind of when it was time for the challenge, when it was time for that element. That was when the drum. You know what I mean? Like,
it made sense for the tradition because those were also aspects of tradition. So they wanted, at least from my viewpoint, I saw that their director was trying to give honor to tradition during scenes that were representative of tradition.
Right, but I guess the point I'm trying to make is that where the costume design was modernized and integrated in a lot of different ways, and you sort of got this sort of Afrofuturist flavor of that. You could have Afrofuturized the score. You could have not used those things to highlight traditional stuff. You could have modernized it, sampled it. I don't know. I'm not a musician, and really beefed up the score with a lot more African musical traditions. And I just felt like to me, it was jarring because they did such a good job on the other elements of it. And I just thought the score wasn't very inspiring.
Oh, because I thought it was, in my mind, especially just, in my travels, at least to the continent, like house, like it just went to like where it is what,
Fair enough. Fair enough.
So that's because when it was like, bah, bah, I was like, oh, snap. Like, the first thing I thought was certainly African, but it's like, it's about to go down. Mm-hmm. But I see where you're coming from. And it'd be interesting too, because when you say that, I can't even think of something that I even, have heard that would fall into that. So that would be an interesting take on, so you're pushing, because I'm like, oh, I don't, and I like
I'm like, invent it for me. Invent it for me.
I saw them, I really liked the soundtrack, and I liked,
did you? Okay.
I think Kendrick Lamar did a good job. So I think they did a good job. Like you said, a lot of the music that you see more as more modern, that still is African music. And that, especially like you think when you go to the continent, you see things like house and things like that. So I saw that still integrating really well.
Okay. But to me, if this doesn't win the costume design next year, there should be riots in the streets.
Friends, after we left the movies, we were like, we want those blankets. We were like Googling those. My
wife wants the Kenyan green dress that Lupita was wearing. Yeah, she so wants that.
So about the blanket thing, did I assess this correctly? I'm looking to Christopher with comic book experts. I felt like the blankets were vibranium, and so that they made the shield when they held them up. Are we supposed to think? Okay, because I was like, that's super cool that the blankets end up being like this
everything
defense
was
thing they're doing. Yeah, I really liked
practical.
That. Oh, and then one other thing about so the other big action piece, I was like, wow, we have a giant fight of black on black violence.
Oh, pretty much.
Yeah, I was like,
it's royalty fighting against royalty.
That's super chill.
No,
that, and I gotta say, when those rhinos showed up,
Chekhov's rhino, because they showed the rhinos early.
I was like, by the power of Grayskull. All I could think of was He-Man's like Adam's tiger turning into the rideable tiger. Totally ruined that moment for me. I was literally like, He-Man. Just me, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
No. But, going back to the internal fighting, that's real stuff. That you could see that. You could take that in several different ways.
The different tribes.
Is that where we're going now? Is that the conversation?
What did you think? Yeah.
The first thing I thought about, on one end, we can't eliminate the scene before that, which is basically Black Panther like, what's up? Mm-hmm. I didn't yield. I'm here. So what's going on? And it being like, you know what I mean? Folks were like, okay, so time out. So who's the king? Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Who do we take orders from? Was you know what I mean? Was the next question, which you know what I mean? You had the person running the border versus the warrior,
versus
who was like, yo, that's the king. No, this is the king. And Killmonger's like, we done, son. Like we're finished. I threw you over. I'm the king now, and so. I think that element is real, right? And so who is in charge? Who's running stuff? I think it's about whose agenda are you pushing, right? What are you about? Is what I took from that.
Agreed.
Is what I think is the premise for the beginning of then where do we get this fighting from? And I also then go back to Nakia, who had her conversation, which was like, look, we got to run. We got to get out of here. This is crazy. And, no, I serve whoever sits on that throne.
Yes, she's loyal. She's loyal.
And she's like, no, you know what I mean? I'm about preserving. I'm preserving my country. Like, that's what I'm about. And so it's that element. And I think that's what the fighting, to me, is about.
It is.
So you know what I mean? And I think that ultimately it's not purely like the visual is very disturbing, but I think on a deeper level, it's about what it is. What are you willing to die for? What are you willing to fight for is what I then took that to mean. Because I think it was a level of tradition. And then there's a level of like, there's a new king. It's a new day. It's like, we're trying to do something more, or you know what I mean? I'm believing in this new world order, whatever you want to call it. That's the takeaway I got. But yes, I did say.
See, I felt that to make sense, especially since coming from the beginning of the film. I don't know if you want to go start, because it started with the whole idea that the uncle betrayed Wakanda. He killed Wakandan people.
Shout out to Sterling K. Brown for the
Sterling
small amount of time that he was in that movie.
Right,
just absolutely knocked it out of the park.
Yeah. But he was in the wrong, and the king was, in my opinion, the king was right. The king, he was going to take his brother back to trial, and then his brother did something stupid by trying to kill another loyal Wakandian, so he had to die.
I don't see.
However, the choices that King made after murdering his brother is not right, because leaving the king. This is where I say T'Challa then, to me, showed, you know what I mean, was a bright character, which is, you know what I mean, come son, this is time to come here. No, you've left unfinished business. I can't come over here to the, you know what I mean, I can't cross over when you've left, you know what I mean? Like, we've got dirty laundry, y'all. You've left the kingdom in disarray over a decision. Like, no. Like, so I think there was elements of, I think T'Challa was a lesser of a star, but I think there was elements in places where, to me, he really was kind of, he kind of, you know, was able to kind of, you know, shine brightly. But you are right.
Finding that center path.
Very much so.
Right. Well, we all know how much I hate a center path.
Well, hence why I felt myself nodding my head every time Killmonger was on the screen.
Yeah, so like, let's take this. So I went into this movie, I saw it with one of our other co-hosts, Garrett, and he's like, I know how you feel about X-Men. I'm really excited to see what you think about Black Panther, because, you know.
Magneto was right.
Yeah, so was Killmonger. Wait, let me just say one thing. Sorry to cut you off. I have been feeling very, like, a low ebb of my patriotism, especially with Olympics. Usually I'm like, go America, and I've just been feeling really depressed about the state of our country. And then, like, you have the two of them fighting, and I'm like, yeah, America, kick some Wakandan ass. I got super patriotic. I was like, Oakland in the house, let's do this thing.
Yes.
Like, I was like, oh, I guess I'm still there. But he was just, I mean, to me, Michael B. Jordan's a more compelling actor. I think that was problematic for Chadwick Boseman, but I think he had the better story. How did you feel about the villain of the movie?
I think the villains usually get to be more interesting than the heroes in a lot of stories.
Okay. Has that been traditionally true of Marvel, though?
Yeah, well, some of them. Like, if you look at, I kind of related this one.
Disney, Marvel,
of course, MCU. Loki. You would say that I thought that this was actually tied really well thematically with Thor Ragnarok, about royalty, princes coming up to power, dealing with the sins of their father, especially when it deals with colonialism. I thought Killmonger was justified. I understand why he was doing it, but I wouldn't go as far as saying that he was right. He was justified, but he was not really trying to make a revolution for the world. He was basically trying to burn and destroy everything.
Right.
So because the first thing he did when he became king is destroy the traditions of power, and he wanted to become and make sure that there would be no other Black Panthers. He wanted to destroy Wakandan tradition because he was so angry because he saw that Wakanda abandoned him.
Yeah. So, you know, tying in to answer their question, but to go back just a second, I mean, the only time I found myself really kind of feeling Black Panther was when he finally caught Claw, there in South Korea. And it was just like when he caught him and chased him, and it was just like, yes. And then it was just like, King, you cannot do this. It was just like, oh yeah, that's right, you are. Like, you know what I mean? That element of like every second you breathe is me giving you mercy, right? Like, you know what I mean? This is your
now,
time.
If he killed the guy, he would have no problems. But no, he didn't kill him.
Yes, but there's the balance, right? You having to strike that balance, and that's what I was like, that's the writing of the character. So yes, you can't do as, you know what I mean, seeking revenge. So that's the element of, I would agree, like
world
Killmonger, you know what I mean? Like when even Claw was like, you're an outsider, and he was just like, he revealed himself and was like, oh, like, you know what I mean? It was just like, I'm dead. So I mean, that element, I would agree. So it's just that balancing act. But I certainly feel like for Killmonger, One of the elements that I thought was spot on as well as kind of missing, I mean, they hit on it, is, having Sterling King as, the father, that, him kind of not having his father, or at least being murdered at an early age. To me, in that short element of seeing the father, I felt like that, Sterling seemed like he was trying to make some, some revolutionary moves in the right direction. Killmonger, that was my take, just real talk. Because, having access to, vibranium, being able to see kind of the injustices that are happening to people like them, we have access to be able to do so much more. And then Killmonger, growing up, at a young age, knowing that his father was murdered, like he said when he showed up, like he had
Panther claws.
Yeah, Panther claws. You're, king. It's a murderer. And I've been, lying, killing, doing whatever to get to this moment. That there's serious issues there. And so I think the writing in that kind of set it up. And you're right. He was about vengeance and the rest.
Yeah. Yeah. To me, though, then, to your point about Loki, as much as I loved his, Killmonger's final line, throw me in the sea with the ancestors who knew that freedom was better than bondage.
Great line.
They shouldn't have killed him then. Because he was an interesting villain. I was like, I think Winter Soldier gets to live. I was like, you wasted a really good villain in this movie. I thought they should have kept him alive. I didn't think they should have killed him off.
I can understand that point of view, because he was so charismatic, they shouldn't have killed him off.
And they were family, showing But
I think it works thematically with him dying. I think I understand why Ryan Coogler made that choice. And I understand that putting him as a prisoner doesn't seem to be completely against what Killmonger would have wanted. It would have been, I think it was better for him to die. I think it was better to have that whole sadness of losing a cousin, losing someone who could actually have done a lot of good for society. And he just destroyed in this tragic circle.
I think I knew there were only going to be one Black Panther movie, it would have been better for him to die. But knowing that they're creating the Marvel freaking universe, there's going to be 50 more of these, I thought they should have kept him around.
He can come back to life. It's Marvel.
He
Seriously.
doesn't have a hat. Sorry. He got a little Whoopi Goldberg on there.
He can come back to life. We still have the Infinity Stones out there if they really wanted to push that issue. But I thought it made sense because he was very angry, destructive. He was far gone. It also kind of ties into the whole when the king, T'Challa's father, killed his brother because he saw his brother was too far gone, and that's why he killed him. He was going to take him and he was going to embarrass himself.
But I said yes, I didn't agree with that decision either.
Using the whole plan, the betrayal of his people was the whole crux of the argument against both of them, was that he chose other people, outsiders, before Wakandans. And that was what it means to be the king. You're supposed to put your people first.
Before I turn things over to Stacy, so you might have seen this, but I blocked Christopher because I knew we were doing this podcast together. I started off a little bit of a S-storm on Facebook based on a tweet from Brie Larson saying everybody should buy... Here's a Twitter feed to buy an underprivileged kid a ticket to Black Panther. And I read an article from the Necessary Allies Coalition, which gave me a whole list of reasons why white people needed to see Black Panther. And I was like, how have you bought this far into the Disney hype machine? I got frustrated. First of all, and I'm going to throw it out there and I'm going to let you guys discuss... You and I have talked, I'm glad that Disney made this movie. They don't get points. It's 10 years too late. This Black Panther movie should have come out a long time ago. It's not progressive to do it now in 2018. When they kicked off the Marvel Universe, they should have put Black Panther in there. He should have gotten his own movie. But second of all, it's just gotten so... The reaction to the movie has gotten really commercial. Again, I wanted the movie to do well. That's not what I'm arguing about. But I'm if I'm going to buy a free ticket for a kid to go to a movie, I would buy it for Hidden Figures, frankly. Like, I wouldn't buy it for them to see a Disney movie. So that Disney gets to sweep up all the credit, like, look how great we are. And now Disney gets to package up and consumerize and sell Blackness back to people. Like, I just don't. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it erases a whole lot of great Black cinema to be like, oh, well, now Disney did it, so now it's legitimate, as if no one had done it before.
Yeah, I think the first thing I would say, because I did see the thread and I was just like, oh, goodness. You know how sometimes you're like, I'm tapped out. But I would say for sure, when I see things like, even I think, what was it, the Oscars or whatever, like the first Black, comedic whatever writer, like 2018, like, like 2017, like, why are you, this is crazy.
I'm 100% in agreement with Sarí on this. It's nice to have the Disney machine behind you and the Disney machine pushing this. Because right now, like, one of the great things T'Challa said was that a wise man builds a bridge, not a barrier, during the first end scene, credit scene. And it's nice to have the supporting. Kids love superheroes. And while this isn't the first Black superhero movie, we can go all the way back to Meteor Man. Back in, that was based in with Robert Townsend in 1993.
No, I loved Meteor Man as a kid.
And then we had Blank Man in 1994. And like, this is not even the first Marvel superhero movie, because you had Blade in 1998. But a lot of the movies were driven by the actor to sell the story. Actor or comedian to sell the story. But this one is nice to have, like, someone in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, an African king, because everyone loves royalty, and about a fictional country that was able to get away from colonialism and able to flourish without being discovered. And I think that it's a nice feeling. And I can see, like, a lot of people, especially now, want to look towards that escapist fantasy theater.
Very much so. People are trying to book tickets to Wakanda. That's real.
Man, if I could get a visa, I would go.
Work visa, anything.
Remember, they don't allow any foreigners in there.
Is that true? That's right.
Well, except for Ramona, the Angela Bassett's character. She's actually Nigerian, which was one of the great things about her Nigerian hitwear. She was actually a foreigner and she's actually T'Challa's stepmother and mother to Shuri. So It was just like, sorry if you go into the whole comic book stuff.
That's great. That's helpful. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm with you guys on that. I loved, it was just so heartwarming to see pictures online of, like, 4 or 5, like 8-year-old Black girls dressed up as not the Dahomey. Sorry, the Dahomey is what the female military.
Dora Milaje.
Thank you. Yeah, that military detail he has that Okoye heads up. So, like, seeing half a dozen, like, little Black chicks just with spears and those red uniforms. I just wanted to, like, burst into tears, like, every time I saw something like that. And and that scene, not the sting, but, like, the actual final scene where that kid in Oakland looks up at T'Challa and just says, like, "Who are you?" And he just smiles back, and it's just like, I just get, like, a feeling in my chest that, like, I can't quite contain. Just, like, the knowledge that these kids they have someone to look, like, even if it is a fictional person to look up to, seeing a prosperous, like, worldly, educated, royal, smart, like, just this person that, like, maybe it is wish fulfillment to think that there is a prosperous, African nation. And obviously that is kind of a dream, but just seeing it represented, right? Just, like, seeing an image of it, like, putting that out into the universe for people for kids to see is just so important, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. My 10-year-old niece, I mean, when I was watching Black Panther, I actually went and saw it 3 times. The first thing that came to mind when watching it, I knew exactly who would like certain characters. And so we didn't get into this beforehand, but I think the women characters by far. I mean, I know we talked a lot about Killmonger and T'Challa, but I mean, we would be remiss if we don't talk about the women. So, for instance, for my 10-year-old niece, I knew Shuri was going to be her favorite. There was something about her that was incredibly sweet, smart, sassy. You know what I mean? It just, here you go. I mean, to me, she represented like STEM, right? Like
exactly
all the things, and still, was about commitment to her brother, who's the king. She was the princess, but didn't, here she is, a princess, right? So a Disney princess, but did not fit the mold of a princess.
That's
she
right.
was the Q, basically.
Yeah. And how kind of impactful that image is. And, then you had,
Okoye.
Okoye, who, I guess is like the warrior who leads, the king's, that's his warrior, even when they were in the challenge, was like, oh, how cool is this? It's all women.
There was two of the elders were women from the mining tribe and from I think it was the merchant tribe. Okay, yeah. Mining tribe and the merchant tribe were 2 women elders.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, just how powerful they were. Nakia, who, is, out there just kind of doing badassery stuff, like trying to save folks, and who really believes not only in her country, but in what her country can do, and who's not kind of sitting and being just kind of content with all the greatness of Wakanda, but it's like, no, we have such, we have all these resources, we have all of this, this was what makes us great. We could be out here doing even better. And it was just like, I think because of that, you know what I mean? And because of this potential of, what Wakanda in and of itself kind of represents, makes these women even, more far-reaching and great role models.
Right, and I like that the women all had different aspects to them. Because usually, unfortunately, they try to make the woman role. But like we had the brains, we had the brawn, and we had the heart. Yeah. With Nakia as the heart, of course. Because she was actually actively trying to solve the situation and try to make the world a better place. And I like that they have these different variety of roles for women. Yeah.
I thought it was also interesting, too, about, T'Challa, where he was, Nakia, if you weren't so stubborn, you'd be a great queen. And she was like, no, because I'm stubborn, I'd be a great queen.
And he said, oh.
If I chose to be. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Like, you know what I mean? And I like that element, because I think even in our society now, there's this element of you've got to choose one or the other, right? Mm-hmm. Like you can't have it all, or that you can't be both, or you can't have all of these things. You can't be multifaceted. You can't be so nuanced, right? And so I just really, really loved that element. Another scene that really kind of pulled at my heartstrings is when they had to go up to the Jabari tribe, and when you saw the queen kneel in front of, like, humble yourself, like, look, we need help, like we are in need of some serious help because things are not as they should be.
Yeah, the women were competent. They were all willing to. They were willing to, like you said, humble themselves when it was necessary, and fight when necessary, which was great. Mm-hmm. And I loved that aspect of it.
Yeah, and a sense of dedication and perseverance, and it was really amazing. I didn't know what to expect, because I didn't know much about Black Panther, but went in and just was fully thoroughly entertained, and left kind of, feeling like a better person. I was just like, wow.
Yeah. the recent run by Ta-Nehisi Coates on Black Panther, he's currently doing the comics right now. He's trying to put he's allowing the women to talk more and having a greater role in the comic book. So it was nice to see that also in the movie as well. And I really enjoyed it. And I think like Sarí kind of stole the movie because she was hilarious with her one-liners. And like you said, having that child, even though she's a grown woman, the actress is a total grown woman. She did a great job of just showing that love of STEM and love of technology and the willingness that sees the leadership of her of the nation. She's in charge of, as a child, she's still in charge of all technological development for the nation, which is huge.
Yeah, and a commitment also. I think if you guys recall the scene where he had returned from that Nigerian mission or whatever, and she was like, give me back the whatchamacallit, I got an improvement. He's like, oh, they work fine. She's like, no, there's always room for improvement. And you know what I mean, even that simple line of, you know what I mean, when, engaging with our youth, like there's always room to do better. There's always room to always kind of be constantly trying to improve what we do. So I thought it was just awesome.
And I loved her sense of style as well. It was nice. I loved the joke about, what are those? That old meme, awesome. Which was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, Denai Guerrero is definitely my hook into this movie. And getting to see her she was basically just being herself, essentially. But, and there would be like a change in music and the camera would slow down and you would realize it was basically saying to you, and now we are going to watch Okoye kick ass for the next 90 seconds. And then we would. And we just would. And it would be glorious. But at the same time, you had Nakia, who was, who fought in a very different way, as you pointed out earlier. It was just so great to see so many different types of female characters with all their different contributions.
Yeah, and I wasn't familiar with most, like the big name actors I knew, but there was a lot of actors that I just was not familiar with. So this was a great kind of introduction for me, quite honestly, that I enjoyed in a major way. And it was interesting in and of itself. All of them were just like their own kind of, whether it's their personality or just their acting chops just kind of coming through. Like we talked about before, it was almost kind of like, I've heard of other, movies where, sometimes you have like a main star, but it just seemed like they all had their own kind of something, like special something. So it was almost like the screen just was, brimming with so much talent that I was impressed.
It was an ensemble cast.
Yes. Like one of the things we noticed, even the woman who played the merchant elder, there was only her 5th credit, which was just like, oh, you did a great job for the fifth credit. And like you said, it was a great ensemble cast. I think Winston Duke did a great job as Mbatu. It's better than Man-Ape, but which they definitely decided, no, let's not call him Man-Ape. No. So that's from the comics.
Got you. Oh, is that from the comics? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, no, just amazing. Yeah, and some of the things that stood out to me, even when Killmonger showed up, some of the nuances. So like the challenge or the fight scene, so those places where there was tradition, and they're getting ready for the fight, and you could see him looking around like, what the hell are they doing?
Yeah, because he doesn't have a heritage.
He doesn't have the heritage, so there was just like. He looked like, all right, whatever. Like, you know what I mean? He'd been given his weapons, and you know what I mean? He's up there breaking them and like
exactly making it better
trying to make it street ready. Like, let's get this on.
Yeah, what's tradition?
Yeah, what is tradition? And then even to some extent, there was a line where he's like, you killed my father, or something he says where I'm just kind of like, he does realize it's his dad, right? Like, you know what I mean? So even for him, it almost seems like he was
blaming all of Wakanda for killing his father.
Yeah, and even to some extent, like stunted, right? Like you're just going after whoever is there. Like, I don't care that was your dad. I'm coming for you. And then when and I don't know if he calls him uncle or whoever.
Yeah, he calls him Uncle James. James.
Yeah, he's just
Sarí.
like, it was me who, he killed him because of me. You know what I mean? He's like, all right, cool, I'll take you too. Like, there was like no level of like, so this level of like disconnect from family, which I thought was a real thing that I thought they did well on. Like, because there was something about Killmonger that was chilling, but also then I on a deeper level felt empathy for him. Like, so there was something really powerful, so that it was nuanced and it was layered. Even in Michael B. Anthony, like B. Jordan's delivery of it, it was kind of like cold as hell and it was just like ice, but it was just like you also kind of like you understood where he was coming from, so you almost, not necessarily that you didn't give him a pass, but it was just like
I understand.
You understand. So it was deep in so many different levels. Even when he came from, when he went to the ancestral path and they gave him when
he only sees his father because that's the only ancestor he knows.
Only. And then even when he came out, you saw when he came out, like when T'Challa came out, it was very like, I saw him. When Killmonger came out, it was just like, I thought he was going to sock somebody. I mean, it was just like, it was like fury. So it was like a totally, I don't know. I just thought Ryan and I just thought they did a really good job. Like, even though you couldn't say everything, I thought that they kind of captured.
Yeah. And I 100% agree. Michael B. Jordan did a great job with Killmonger. And like one of the earlier things you see him doing is like when his girlfriend gets used as a human shield, he said, yeah, okay, bam, and shoots her. Because he doesn't care.
Oh, no.
He just like,
even
that makes
the
it clear.
Colonizers know.
I will kill anybody to get back.
I've learned, yes. And even the conversation between T'Challa and Killmonger when they're, that last like fight scene on the like train tracks.
Right.
And how they're going back and forth. Like, look, you're willing to just, you know what I mean? Like, I learned from the enemy. He was like, no, man, you actually have turned into the, like, so even that was really powerful.
Yeah, and like Ross talks about it, Martin Freeman's character, Agent Ross talks about, he was taught by us. He's doing what we taught him. So he was a American taught killing machine, and that's why he's so brutal, which I thought was a very good commentary on him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is important to mention that, he is from Oakland, California, right? Which is where Ryan Coogler is from, which is where the Black Panther movement originated. Like, what do we think about him? I kind of read him as the embodiment of kind of the Black American condition.
I could see that. As that during that time frame, it was very important that they went back to 1992 because that was when the Rodney King riots happened. So that there was a lot of animosity, a lot of anger right there, and I could see that Killmonger being as representative of the anger and the feeling of betrayal from the African American position. Yeah,
and the only caveat I'd put in there, Stacy, would be, an element of.
Thank you.
So
yes.
I would not, color it as just the Black, showcasing. But I certainly think, the one thing I thought was, I don't know, I haven't read a ton, but I immediately felt it was a Martin and Malcolm.
Oh, okay. This is one of the things I want to have an argument. No. I've had lots of arguments about Martin and Malcolm.
But hold on a second. Okay. Let me finish though.
Okay.
But I'd say no, because I felt like Malcolm was such a thinker, and I felt Killmonger was such a killer.
Okay, we're on 100% agreement here. Yes.
So I felt, so this might be the Disney element, right? Because I don't know how much, you know what I mean? Like, Ryan was, writing and directing and doing, but, to some extent, maybe there's like, Disney comes through or whoever comes through and edits it down, right? Because you can be semi-woke. They might not let you be fully woke. Because you don't want to stir up.
You don't want to scare too many people off the movie.
You go. You want to sell tickets. But that's the part I didn't like, that because Killmonger it wasn't analytical enough to me. Like, so he spoke it, but then it was just like, oh, this is like half-assed. This is very slightly neurotic, and not neurotic, but it just didn't seem fully fleshed out, fully, like, to me, that wasn't what it was.
Agreed.
And so, Stacey, I tie it back to the Black Panther movement, which continues, I think, to get a bad rap, which is a gang, they're thugs, they're this, they're that. No way. They were incredibly thoughtful. They were incredibly analytical, how they kind of set themselves up. They built partnerships, allyships, working with, internationally with folks, which in many ways, I mean, if they were such a thugged out group, you wouldn't have had a whole government entity that was developed to actually annihilate them, right? Because if they were so
Hoover and COINTELPRO.
Yes, the whole situation. So that's the one thing that I didn't like, because I thought, Killmonger wasn't fully, that.
I see what you're saying, and I agree with you on that. And I think he was just only supposed to be the element, not like the entire African-American experience, but the element of the anger and the justifiable rage of the African-American experience. And like you said, the Black Panthers were a community movement. It was not there for conquering or anything. It was more just for self-sufficiency and self-protection. And it was trying to make sure that we will take care of ourselves, which kind of fits into what Wakanda did, that we only care about us. But unfortunately, the Black Panther movement also expanding to try to help the whole Pan-African movement. And
Absolutely.
like we mentioned with COINTELPRO, which was aimed not only towards any of the Black Panther or Black movements, it also attacked Black bookstores as well. Yeah. So I see, that's why I said, like, when we say people, Killmonger was right, I understand Killmonger, and I can see why he was so angry. And like I said, the time frame, they said they just chose 1992 for a reason with the Rodney King riots. It was very well done.
Yeah. I think the last thing I'll say real quick, though, will be that the anger part I would agree with. The fact that Killmonger kind of executed the way he did, as the tie-in would be like where he comes from is death, right? So if he's in a position of power, he probably sees that position being, taken probably very quickly. So he's trying to move very quickly, and knowing that his time in that position is going to be short-lived. And so I think that element plays into, and I think that's the tie-in with his lifestyle and or, growing up in Oakland. Like, this is going to be quick. So let me try to make moves quick.
Yes.
No, I want to make sure that we mention that, like, how excited, like, the actual African continent is about this movie. Because it's African-American, but it's also, like, really, empowering and exciting to, as far as what I've heard, to African people, right, who are so frequently, like, relegated to the outskirts of, like, just kind of the global community, and to see themselves portrayed in such a positive way and at the forefront of such a prominent film has been really uplifting for a lot of people. So I just, I think that's important too.
I have a great comparison between this because, like, having an African hero here was great, and he's fully African, versus we just saw the movie Wolf Warrior 2, which is like don't laugh, it made over $1 billion. It's one of China's biggest blockbuster of all time. And the way Africans were shown, because the Chinese were rescuing Africa, that was a big difference. It was really, really bad. And they, at one point, when, like, the people are being killed, the Africans are being killed, a woman starts singing Amazing Grace.
Wow. Wow.
Yes, but you're spot on. Apparently the premiere in South Africa was, they were just loved it. It was welcomed, and it's even a bigger deal there in Africa, for sure.
As much as we could keep talking about this forever, no, it's good. We do need to move into the social impact score and then some recommendations.
Right. So our social impact score, we're going to give it on a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being it changes nothing, and 10 being the world we once knew is gone forever. I'm going to go with a confident, solid 8 on this. Like, this is up in the realm of, like, Get Out and Wonder Woman. And I think we're going to, because of the just blockbusting success of this film over that first opening weekend, we're going to see a lot more in this vein, which is very heartening and exciting. So yeah, 8 for me.
For me, I would probably go ahead and give it a 10. I certainly think that it is already kind of breaking records. I know the impact it's already had, generational already. So yeah, I'm just really excited about, what's more to come. And I think it's only been the first week so far. So, and it's also opened up a lot of conversation and dialogue. So that's been really great.
And yeah, I totally agree with that. I was going to put a 7, and then I decided I'll move it up to an 8.
Being pessimistic.
I'm always a pessimist, but you're right, because it's the 5th biggest opening of all time. Movies of all time. Is doing really, really well economically. There's tons of ink that's been spilled with all the thought pieces on it, and I think it actually is starting some conversations. And I think it's nice. We might have another renaissance of actually getting funding for Black directors, which would be great, because Ryan Coogler did a really good job here.
I know Sarí is right, and I know it deserves a 10, but I want to be I'll give Get Out, retroactively give Get Out the 10, because I don't remember what we gave it, and then just give this the 9. Just because, it's Disney, and I'm still...
I know.
There's just a piece of me, again...
I can't give it to Disney.
but then it is Disney. And the worldwide reach, and the impact, and the Disney Princess, and all of that,
Disney will give it a push.
People now dressed like they're going to
I know. So, okay. Well, we all enjoyed this. Recommendations.
If you want a little bit more about, there's Ta-Nehisi Coates' run of Black Panthers currently going on and currently available. You can also, Ta-Nehisi Coates just released 8 Years in Power, when he talks about Barack Obama's presidency and what it meant for a lot of people.
Good.
Netflix has, what is this? Chris Rock's new stand-up, which is hilarious.
Tangerine.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Tambourine.
Check it out.
All right. Man, this is just, it's breaking my heart. So go see frickin' Moonlight. You want to see a movie that has 0 white actors in it? See Moonlight. It's amazing. It won an Oscar.
But people have a hard time with that storyline. That's all. Right.
I know. And
that's real tough.
It's a I don't want to derail this conversation, but I do feel like there's a whiff of homophobia the way that the Black community did not run to embrace Moonlight.
Oh, good time.
Well, we hope you enjoyed this very special, extra long, super hosted episode of Movies That Matter.
Super hosted.
If did, please take a second to leave a review on iTunes and recommend it to your friends. Check out our website, moviesthatmatterpodcast.com, for links to things we've discussed, and please visit our store. If you want to talk to us, leave a comment on our Facebook page or on Twitter with our tag @MoviesMatterPod. And check Twitter to find out what movie we're overanalyzing next. Remember, movies matter.
And so do you.